Hi everyone, this is Crafty Decoria and I hope you're all doing great. So for today's Dollar Tree Craft with me, I will be making some lanterns for my dining room table. I'm getting ready to change out my tablescape from summer to fall, and I think these lanterns will look really pretty. Now these lanterns were inspired by my last DIY. I'll post the link to that video in the description box below if you care to check it out. But I made a lamp in that DIY, and so I decided to make these lanterns in the same way, only with the lanterns I'm adding another little element to it. So I'm really excited to make these, and I hope that they turn out really great. All of the items that I'll be using are from Dollar Tree, with the exception of the spray paint. If I don't end up having enough time, I'll just go ahead and use the spray paint just to get the DIY done quicker. But definitely I do also enjoy using the acrylic paint from Dollar Tree. I have some in white and then some in black. I haven't decided which color I'm using, but if I don't use the acrylic paint, then definitely I'll just use the spray paint. I have these ornament balls. You get 16 in a package. My Dollar Tree already has a little section with some winter Christmas items. So I was able to pick these up, but if you cannot find these yet, and this is something that you want to make, then you definitely could go ahead and pick up the ping pong balls. You get 6 in a package, but they are larger. I just prefer the smaller balls, and so I'm happy that I was able to find these. I have the chopping mats. You get 2 in a package, and I will use both mats to make the one lantern. I have 2 of the round mirrored frames here. Now in my lamp DIY, I did use the larger mirrored frames, but if this again is something that you want to make for yourself, you can decide whether you want a larger lantern or a smaller one. I have some Mod Podge, and I have the Dollar Tree kitchen towel. It's 100% cotton and happens to be one of my favorites that the Dollar Tree carries. And that's it. Other than my hot glue, I am ready to put this lantern together. So if you care to see how I do that, then keep on watching. Okay, so the first thing, I've taken my mirrored frames and I've removed the mirrors, as I won't be using them for this DIY. I will keep them aside, and I most likely will end up doing another DIY using those mirrors because I don't like things to go to waste. So now I have the backings and my frames. I will glue both of the backings together, and then I will insert these to one of the frames, and this will be the bottom portion of the lantern. And then the top frame will remain hollow so that I can place my lighting on the inside. So now I need to make my shade. So I've placed my chopping mats on top of one on top of the other, and I have some jute twine, and I'm just going to measure the diameter of the frame. So I'm just gonna hold the jute twine there, wrap it all the way around to the other end, and that's gonna give me the diameter. But I'm also gonna add another 1.5 inches just for a little bit extra, so that when I join the both ends of the chopping mats to glue them together to form my shade, I have that little extra space where they can overlap. Okay, so before I cut my length for my shade, I'm just going to glue both ends of the chopping mat together, and I'm gonna leave about 1 inch, maybe just a little bit less than 1 inch. I'm ready to cut off the excess cutting mat here. Now I did say to use a jute twine to measure the diameter of the frame, but I'm actually going to give you another method that will work if you want to glue your cutting mat to the edge of the outside of the frame. But I actually want to glue my cutting mat on the inside of the frame so that I get a nicer finish on the top and bottom of my lantern. So to get a really nice fit for your shade, you're actually going to take those cutting mats once you've glued them together, and you're just going to roll it up and then fit it to the inside of the frame here. And then once you have a good fit, you're just going to mark off where you want to cut your excess off. You can mark it with a dry erase marker on the top and bottom, and then once you take it out, you can just take something straight, a ruler, and then just draw a straight line, and then you can cut the excess off. But the reason to do it this way is because on the inside of these frames, you can see that there's little plastic pieces that are sticking out on each side of the inside of the frame. And so you're not going to be able to glue that cutting mat flush to the inside of the frame. So there's a little gully here, and you're going to actually be gluing it to that area. So you really have to fit these in nicely, and if you do it that way, you'll get a nicer fit. Glued my cutting mats together. Now, I told you to use the jute twine to measure the diameter of the frame, but that method really works when you are gluing your cutting mat to the outside of your frame. So on the outside here. But with this lantern, I actually want to glue my cutting mat on the inside of the frame because I really want my frame to have a finished look on the top and bottom of the lantern. So to achieve that, I have to glue it on the inside. The only problem is on the inside of the frame, you can see there's these plastic little pieces on each side. And so I'm not going to be able to have my cutting mat flush to the inside of the frame. I'm gonna have to glue it inside of this little gully to the center. So to get a more accurate fit for your shade, if you do want to make this and have your shade on the inside of the frame, then you just take your cutting mat and you're going to turn it in and place it on the inside of your frame. And once you have it in there, you can take a dry erase marker, and it might take a few seconds here to get it to fit properly. But once you do get it in place and you're happy with the position of it, just take a dry erase marker and then mark off where you want your shade to be cut off. So just place a mark at the top, a mark at the bottom, and then when you unfold your cutting mat, you can just take a straight edge and then draw a straight line there, and then that's going to give you a more accurate cut and look to your ironed out my towel, and I've just laid it down with the seams of the towel facing up. So I'm going to take my cutting mat and center that onto the towel, and then I'll take my hot glue and then glue down the top portion of the towel onto the cutting mat. I've decided to change part of the steps of making this lantern. Originally at this point, I was just gonna turn the whole thing over and then lift up the towel, add the Mod Podge to the cutting mat, and then smooth my towel on top. I think I'm going to skip the Mod Podge because since I have enough material all the way around the cutting mat, I think just by pulling everything nice and tight and then hot gluing that down, the shade is going to come out good just the same. So we're gonna try it that way. If it doesn't end up working out, you will see in this video, and then you could definitely go ahead and add the Mod Podge to make sure that the towel stays in place. But I really think that it's gonna be okay just gluing everything down. So I'm now going to just take the bottom portion of the towel and then pull it nice and tight and glue that down. Ends, I'm just going to fold everything in as though I'm wrapping a present and then glue that to the cutting mat. Now I'm just going to take some hot glue, run a bead all the way down the one end, take my other end, fold it over, press down, and let that dry. About ready to place my shade inside of the mirrors or inside of the frames, but I need to close off one of the frames, and you could do that two ways. You could use the mirror that it came with and just glue that on to the inside back on this inner lip here, or what I'm going to be doing, because I'm going to use these mirrors for another project, I'm just going to take the inserts and I'm going to glue that in there instead. However, I do need to cut these inserts down so that they fit inside of, or they fit so that I can glue it onto the frame, but I still have access to the gully for my shade to sit in. So I just took the mirror and I traced both of the inserts. Now I'm going to cut that out and then glue one of the inserts on top of the other. Now I will leave a little bit extra so that it overlaps a bit, and then I'll glue that onto the inner part of the frame, and that will be the base of my lantern. The handle of my lanterns, I took a piece of wax paper and I traced the outer edge of one of the frames. Once I cut it out, I folded that in half, and that is the template for my handle. So for the handle, I'm using the Dollar Tree ornament balls. I used 10 of these balls to make my handle. So you're just going to remove the little hook that comes on the ball. I had an old knife and I just saw that extra piece of plastic off so that the ball is flush. Then one by one, I just line them up on the edge of the wax paper and glue them one by one to form my handle with my hot glue. So here I've already gone ahead and made one to show you what it looks like. I do need to make 2 more as I have 3 lanterns for my dining room table. I'll take this outside and give it a couple coats of spray paint, and then I may even dry brush some white acrylic paint from the Dollar Tree on the handle. When I place my shade into my frames and glue them together, I then will glue this to the top of the lantern to complete my lantern. So I ended up dry brushing some white acrylic paint to this handle, and I love it so much better. It was a super glossy finish, and against the matte frame, it just stood out like a sore thumb. So I wasn't happy with it, but now adding the acrylic paint, it has a nice matte finish, and it almost looks like painted wooden beads. I just think that it looks much, much nicer. So I'm ready to glue my handle down. The thing is that of course the end of the handles are rounded and the top of the frame is rounded as well. So I don't have a lot of surface for this handle to sit on. So what I decided to do is just add some hot glue to each side here, and then I'm gonna let that dry. Once that's dried, I'm gonna take some jute twine. So I did subtract the Mod Podge from this DIY, but I'm gonna add an item back in, and that's the jute twine from Dollar Tree. And this way, once the handle is on there, I'm just gonna wrap both ends so that the jute twine is glued to the ball as well as to the top of the frame. And I think that's just gonna hold it in place much better. Now these lanterns are super, super light, and I'm only gonna probably be placing the LED candles in here, maybe some cotton stems, but still, I want to be able to lift this up and just have my mind at ease that it's not going to fall apart. So I think that should do the trick. Guys, so here are my Dollar Tree lanterns, and these by far are my favorite that I have made to date. I just love them. I love how they look on my table. Now you can see I still have the lemon plates, but I will be transitioning from summer to fall very soon, and I'll be adding different plates and fall leaves and pumpkins on here, but I really just wanted to show you the centerpieces just as they were on their own, and I love them, probably because there's a lot of black and white in here, so it really goes great with the rest of my decor. At least I think so, and I hope you do as well. So here, a little closer look at the jute twine that I added to the bottom of the ornament ball to be glued to the frame here, and it really made it nice and secure. Now again, these are very lightweight, so they don't need to hold a lot, but I just wanted to have that extra security that these weren't gonna fall off as soon as I pick them up, and they do feel really nice and secure. On the inside, I have a couple of LED candles from the Dollar Tree. You could fit 3 in here, so it would illuminate this lantern very nicely. And I will go ahead and take a little clip once it gets a little bit darker, but I had the time to film the ending now, so I figured I would do it while there was some nice natural light, as usually a lot of times, unfortunately, my videos are a little bit darker because I am filming at night a lot of times, but I really wanted you to be able to see how crisp and sharp these look. They definitely do not look like something that they look like something that is more high-end, and I just love them. I think they came out really pretty. Here with the center one, you can see I added a jute twine tassel to each side just to add a little something more, since it is the one in the center, and I wanted to show you another idea how you could add a little something to these lanterns. I also added some Dollar Tree cream roses and cotton stems to the inside. I think that these are really great because you can add florals, so if you want to change it out seasonally, you can always have a fresh new look. And then to the inside, I added the Dollar Tree wire LED light strand, so this way I just wrap the end around the handle here, and then I can easily pull it up to turn the lights on and off, so I don't have to fuss with the arrangement that I have inside. But these definitely, as I said, are my favorite that I've made. They were so simple to put together and very cost effective, and again, I do think that they look more high-end which is always more of a plus. Well guys, that will do it for this Dollar Tree DIY. I really hope that you enjoyed this one. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Share the video if you can, it greatly helps my channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, as always, I would absolutely love and appreciate it if you did. And of course, as always, you guys take care of yourselves, and I hope to catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.